welcome to a video reviewing multiplying and dividing with negative numbers. Again, in this video we're trying to get a really solid grasp of negative numbers, working with them, because 90% of the time, most of the time, if students make a mistake in algebra, it has to do with a negative number somewhere. So we want to get really grounded in negatives, working with them to try and prevent a lot of the little errors. Okay, so we got three things here. We got 3 times 5, which is easy. That's going to be 15. We've got 3 times -5 and -3 times -5. Hopefully some easy examples where we're going to really hone in on what's going on, understanding the whole negative idea here. So 3 times 5 is 15, but I can think about it, again, I want to get a picture to understand what's going on. I can think about that as 3 groups of 5. So we have 1, 5, 2, and 3. There's my 3 groups of 5. 5 plus 5 plus 5, that's 15. Now, so how do I think about it then in terms of 3 times -5? Well, I can think about that as 3 groups of the opposite of 5, 3 groups of -5. So let's make 1, 2, 3. And now we have 3 groups of -5, which is really easy to see. It's -5 plus -5 plus -5, so it should be -15. And what we see there is whenever you have a positive number multiplied by a negative number, the result is a negative number. Okay, but now let's look on the third example. Now I have -3 times -5. So the way to think about this is, again, translate that negative sign as the opposite. So when I see this, I have the opposite. If positive 3 times -5 is -15, one more negative sign means I'm going to have the opposite of -15. Well, there's only one opposite, and that's to get right back into positive 15. So if you have 2 negatives, the 2 negatives, again, one negative makes everything opposite, turns it into negative, but then one more negative turns the opposite of the opposite back into a positive thing. So 2 negatives, a negative number multiplied by another negative number, ends up equaling a positive number. So if you look for pairs, so one final example, if you take a big number here, -2 times -3 times -4 times -5 times -6 times -8, it may blow your mind, right? You're like, oh, so many negatives. But really, I can quickly check, okay, negative times a negative, that's positive. There's another negative times a negative, that's a positive. Another negative times a positive. If you have an even number of negatives, I know my answers are going to be positive. So I don't even have to deal with negative numbers. I just do whatever is 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6 times 8. Don't even worry about the negatives, button pushing all the negatives. Just calculate what it is because I know it will be positive. So if you can get these patterns, if you have a bunch of numbers multiplied and there's an odd number of negatives, you know you're going to end up with a negative result. If you're multiplying a bunch of numbers and there's an even number of negatives, then you're going to end up with a positive result. So those patterns can really help simplify things if you can kind of understand what's going on. But hopefully this helps you get an idea about positives, negatives, multiplying, dividing. I guess it really didn't deal with dividing. Dividing follows the exact same pattern. If you divide 2 numbers and one's positive, one's negative, so for example, 6 divided by -2, you're going to end up with a result of -3. If they're both negative, -6 divided by -2, then you end up with a positive number because, again, the opposite of the opposite is back to where you started, positive. Okay, there you go.